Oh, yes, it is time for Chiney's cheat sheet. And this one is brought to you by BetMGM. So, Chiney, we have 3 potential closeout games tonight, but perhaps no one is more interesting, more enticing than the Suns and the Clippers. What are you looking at in this Game 5, my friend?
First of all, shout out to BetMGM, okay, for sponsoring my segment. People might be sleeping on Devin Booker right now, who has been on one this postseason on both ends of the floor. Let's start, though, with offense. Book is one of 4 players to average over 30 in a playoff run on 55% shooting from the floor and 40% shooting from 3. But the gag is, in my Keke Palmer voice, this is an incredible feat when you realize that 83 of his 91 shots have been contested. That is wild to have those numbers. Let's look at his offense. He's using the left hand to sort of say, hey, I want to drive left. Plumlee, no eyes on the basketball, strong left hand, attacks D-Book, not afraid to take some contact, and finishes right there. I love how aggressive he has been getting to the rim. Here, watch this shot. Mind blown. Just transported, teleported. I call this the blind shot fadeaway because you miss the rim and you have to do this on muscle memory. He's 55% shooting on those types of shots, contested shots. It is wild. So we all know about D-Book's offense. But where this playoff run has been different is his defense. Tell your friends. Devin Booker is 3rd in the league in total contests on shot this postseason, allowing just 40% from those looks. So he's taken a lot of pride in his work on the defensive end. And y'all, if you don't believe me, here's the man himself.
I take a lot of pride in it. And I always have. You know, I had a reputation early in my career that, you know, I couldn't do it. Being a part of a losing team was tough, and, you know, I had a lot of weight on my shoulders. But now, you know, doing it collectively with a group of 5, with everybody locked into the same scheme, and it allows everybody to be aggressive on the ball, and, you know you have help behind you, people covering up your mistakes.
I love that. Two-way player, two-way guard. Let's take a look at his defense. Out-of-bounds play baseline are hard to really match up man-to-man. Here we see that they're trying to get the ball to Kawhi Leonard. Everyone's even pointing that way. And look, he takes this matchup, plays the lane, saves the ball, and they're off to the races. So he's been very active in passing lanes. Again, 2 steals in the postseason, leading the NBA there, doubling from 1 steal a game he had in the regular season. But watch this. He's playing post player here in drop coverage, and he's forcing his opponents to shoot just 39%. So that's really impressive. Not only is he doing the passing lanes, but he's not afraid to take on the assignment of getting in drop coverage. And even better, they get and go after his defensive really galvanizes the rest of them. So I know we've seen some amazing, sensational performances. Shout out to Jimmy Butler. Shout out to Steph and the Warriors in that series and everything.
De'Aaron Fox.
LeBron James and the Lakers. But flying under the radar is Devin Booker, who is having one of the statistical best playoff runs so far.
Absolutely. All right, so that's the Suns side of things. Let's go to the other side of the matchup, the Clippers. They face elimination with their biggest stars. Both of them are sidelined, and one of those stars is Paul George. And he spoke for the first time since his own injury. So here's what he had to say about Kawhi, who is also out tonight.
Kawhi is a trooper, man. Kawhi is a trooper. Kawhi is willing to put it on the line. The fact that he got hurt game 1, tried to play through game 2, you know, people think that he's out, you know, because he doesn't want to play. It's you know, I think it just attacks his character, and where people don't understand, like, man, he'll play through it. You know, it's got to be a reason why he's out. And, you know, he wants to be out there with us.
I'm joined now by our Clippers reporter, Young Masuk. You are in Phoenix, So beyond what we just heard from Paul George, what more are you hearing about what the team is saying about Kawhi?
Malika, the Clippers want to be pretty clear about this, that there's a narrative, whether it's ridiculous or not, that some people are suggesting Kawhi Leonard is, load managing, that he is resting despite his 2 dominant performances after game 1 and game 2. This is Kawhi Leonard's time of the year.
Right.
And Ty Lue said the other day, he's hurt. This isn't load managing. This is not him resting. Otherwise, he would play through it. As Paul George said to us earlier this morning, this is an attack on Kawhi's character to say that he can't play. On another note with Paul George, he basically confirmed what our colleague Woj reported in the series, that he was unlikely to play in the series. He said that at minimum, his injury required a 6-week recovery. 6 weeks takes us to next Tuesday. So he is still hopeful that the Clippers can pull off a miracle and get out of this first round and that he can come back. But he said there's still some scares involved as far as trying to come back and making sure that he does not re-injure his knee.
Well, if they are going to come back in this series, they're going to continue to need a lot from Norm Powell, who they've been relying on. They're going to continue to need a lot from Russell Westbrook. And I understand that Paul George also spoke about Russell's future with this team. What did he have to say?
Paul George obviously was the guy who lobbied very hard for them to sign his former Oklahoma City teammate. They did so with his blessing and, of course, Kawhi Leonard's blessing. And he said, look, we want him back. He is the leader that we need at point guard. He has played himself back into a free agent market that I think he's reestablished his market to show that he can still be that old vintage Russell Westbrook, and that maybe the whole Lakers thing was just a blip on the radar. Of course, I think for Russell Westbrook, it's going to be a tough decision for him this summer, whether or not he wants to stay and maybe take a pay cut to stay and be happy with the Clippers, or see what the market provides him out there and what other teams might be able to give him as far as more money.
Very interesting. Thank you so much for spending some time with us here on NBA Today. Rejoining our entire panel here, Chiney Ogwumike, Richard Jefferson, bringing in Zach Lowe and Kendrick Perkins. I'm curious. We see a 3-1 series lead here for the Phoenix Suns. So, Perk, what is the key for LA to find some sort of way tonight?
Make shots and hope that they miss shots. Look, I'm waving a white flag on this one. I know I picked the Clippers, but without Kawhi, they don't stand a chance. I believe the Suns are going to close this out tonight. I think the Clippers put up a good fight, but let me say this. Russell Westbrook has saved his basketball career. Forget being a starter in the league. He was on his way and on the verge of not actually having a job to being put in a position by the Clippers and Ty Lue to be the best version of Russ, that he saved his career and he's going to get a nice payday. And I want to say that he went out there against all odds and went out there and handled his business in great fashion. Kudos to Russell Westbrook. So if it's any bright spot that the Clippers have right now, is that they're looking at Russell Westbrook and saying, you know what? This is a guy that we need, not one that we need.
But at this point, Zach, the fact that we are talking about bright spots for the Clippers, after when we were coming into this year, Chiney and I were talking about how, yeah, maybe really they could be the team that comes out of the West. The magnitude of this game, this series for them is what?
I mean, it's boring to talk about now. They built everything around the two stars, and they're not healthy right now. And if those guys aren't healthy, I don't even know what the magnitude of this game is, because it's just hard to imagine them beating Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Chris Paul 3 times in a row without home court advantage and relying on Norm Powell and Russell Westbrook, who are playing amazing but aren't as good as those other guys. They're going to need a million things to go right for them just to get this to a Game 6 in LA. And zooming out, I mean, if you had told us all in the summer of 2019, when Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving signed in Brooklyn, and when Kawhi Leonard and Paul George ended up together in LA, that those two teams in 4 years would win 4 playoff series combined, none of us would believed it. We all would have thought it was crazy. That's what we're staring at right here. Historic disappointments, one of whom is now on another team playing against the Clippers.
Right.
It's unbelievable to think about.
Jalen, when you look at this series from the Suns' perspective, considering you have an aging Chris Paul, considering you have Kevin Durant with a history of unfortunate injuries, how important is it that they wrap this up now, that they don't play with their food and go back to Los Angeles?
It's extremely important because those guys are also playing heavy minutes, Malika, and you want to get the series over with so that they can rest up. But adding Kevin Durant also now allows Chris Paul to pick and choose his spots, like he did in the previous game when he took over late, in particular in the fourth quarter. But Devin Booker, as you guys broke down, Devin Booker has been terrific, not only scoring the ball with efficiency, but also competing defensively. And they got lucky in a lot of ways because you're facing the Clippers team that's dealing with injuries while you're starting to figure your team chemistry out, since they haven't played together but about 12 or 13 games overall.
Well, teams that take a 3-1 series lead in a best-of-7 series, they go on to win a little over 95% of the time. And the winner of this series will go on to take on the winner of the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. But we have a couple of elimination games going on tonight, y'all. The Clippers, they are not the only ones. The Hawks, they are also facing elimination in Boston. So do not miss Big Perk's reaction to DeJounte Murray's suspension. NBA Today will be right back. Keep it locked.